and welcome to the Scary Goals Club. I am your host, Hazel Robertson, and I believe that to make the impact that you know you are called to make in the world, it requires setting bigger, scarier goals and then becoming the person who creates them. That is what I am here to show you how to do. That's what we're diving into with mindset, tools, tricks, really simple, practical, actionable steps you can take and start applying straight away. Because whatever you believe, we have this one life that we definitely know about. Start making the impact you know you want to make in the world. Fear is not a reason to stop. We keep going. We work through the fear. That is what we do in the Scary Goals Club. So come on in, come join, hit subscribe, and let's get started. Hi, and welcome to the Scary Goals Club podcast. If you're watching this in video, I am wearing my Christmas jumper. It is so cool. I bought this when... Let me see if I can get the timing of it right. I was in Iceland. I can't remember. I was either there like doing ski touring back in 2014 or it was 2015 when Luke was skiing solo to the South Pole in Antarctica. And so he was down in Antarctica. I'd like gone to Chile to like see him off. So he was like in 24-hour daylight, like skiing to the South Pole. And so rather than being at home for Christmas and like Luke not being there and it just feeling like this really stressful thing, me and my family went to Iceland for Christmas. So it was almost like trying to be in like a snowy place and it was cold. Although what I hadn't totally clicked was that because we were so far north, how far were we? I can't remember where, it was like just in Reykjavik we were. I can't remember. I know the Arctic Circle goes through northern Iceland, but it's right up by one of the islands. I can't remember. So anyway, it's a little bit further south. Anyway, it was far north and even further than Aberdeenshire. And literally around Christmas Day or like just before, I mean, the sun wasn't rising until 10:30 in the morning. And so you'd get up. I was like training for this like ice ultra, like this snowshoe ultra marathon I was doing a few months later. And I remember like going out for training runs in a head torch at like 8, 9 in the morning. And you could just see the like sun on the horizon and it was just like coming up. And then it would get dark at, I think it was like 2:30 or something. I mean, there was like 4 hours of or maybe even less, where the sun was actually up and it would just skim the horizon and then go back down. But it was like frosty and white and it was amazing. But I remember also, so Luke was on like BBC Breakfast on Christmas Day, like they phoned him from his sat phone in Antarctica. So he was on BBC Breakfast. But because, so I was like trying to watch it, but because we were in Iceland, there wasn't the BBC TV license thing. Anyway, we weren't able to get onto it. So it was like, literally like gone to Iceland to be in more in like solidarity with Luke and like literally can't watch him on BBC Breakfast. I had to like phone a friend who like then put her phone like on the TV to be able to see it. So yeah, I think it was that trip or it was the ski trip I went to a few years before it. Anyway, I got this jumper and it's so, I mean, it's quite holy, but it's like loose knit, but it's like handmade and it's like sheep wool and it's so nice. And it's one of those things where it's like when you invest in something that you like and you know like where it's made and you know like who's made it, or it's like something that's like good quality and it's so nice. I like love wearing it. And I mean, it's a little bit scratchy, I'm going to be honest, but it's so nice. And it comes out at this time of year and it's just like reminds me of being up in northern cold, lovely places. Anyway, I digress. So I'm here in my Christmas jumper and it is, when am I recording this? Thursday, the 19th of December. So it's going out tomorrow. Anyway, we're just before Christmas. And started messing with my hair. I'm going to stop messing with it. So today I wanted to do a podcast episode on 3 steps to reducing overwhelm. Now, this is something that can be helpful at any time of the year. I know that like certainly at the moment, in the run up to Christmas, with like there can be lots of things going on and it can be very easy to be overwhelmed. And we can get into, let's see if this resonates at all. We can get into essentially what are called like, what I call overwhelm cycles. So we have, now let me just be clear, like overwhelm comes not from the number of things that we have on a list or the number of things we think we have to do. It's because we're thinking about like all of them. Okay. So our brain is trying to think about all of the things and we tell this story, or our brain tells this story that like, there's too many things. There's so much to do. There's so many things going on. There's so much. It's this like it's not the number of things, it's the so muchness of them all. We're like, our brain's trying to think about all of these different things, and it's almost like, where it like can't even like comprehend where to start, and it just completely shuts down. Especially if it's like you have maybe like lists and lists here and lists there, and there's things going on, and it's almost like our brain tries to think about all of them, and it's almost like, there's too much. It's almost like there's too much. That's when we feel overwhelmed. And if you're anything like me, when you're feeling overwhelmed, like we tend to shut down. It's almost like our brain's trying to think about all of the things, and so it just shuts down. It's like it almost can't think about any of them. So when we think there's like too many, there's so many, there's so much, we literally do nothing. And we don't do any of them. Or we're like, oh, wait, I'll start this. Oh, no, wait, is this? Oh, no, wait, is this? Oh, no, what about this one? Oh, no, what about this one? It's like we jump around, and then just like completely shut down. And so we don't make any progress on any of them. We like spin in this overwhelm. Then, of course, we're not really making any progress. We're not also changing the narrative about what we're telling about these things. And then we'll like look at our list or think about them again and be like, there's too much, and then shut down again. And so it just goes round and round in these loops, round and round in these cycles. So if this is you, I'm sending a big hug, because I get it. I have been there, and I can sometimes get into that place where I get into spin. And I'm going to talk through the 3 steps to stop that overwhelm. But there's also another type of overwhelm, and this might be for other people too, but certainly as someone with ADHD, I have a lot of like I can get a lot of sensory overwhelm. So if there's lots of like noises or like lights or things happening, if there's stuff like kind of going on, lots of people and noise. Also, when I'm tired, I find that I can get a bit more overwhelmed, and I'm maybe trying to think or trying to focus. That's when I can almost like just get like overwhelmed, and I'm just like, like it's almost like sensory overwhelm. So I'm going to also talk through that of like some ways that I find when I'm in that place to help me manage it, just so that I can almost like reduce the sensory overwhelm. I don't know if that's what it's called. That's what I'm calling it. But the sensory overwhelm, and actually get to a place where like I'm just feeling a little bit calmer to then actually think, okay, what do I actually want to make progress on? And then when you can reduce the sensory overwhelm, then it's like you can apply the 3 steps I'm going to talk through with this. I'm just going to check my mic. I'm using this new software, and it's brilliant. For any of you podcasters, you might use it as well. It is called Riverside. And yeah, it's great. It's really good. It does really... I was recording them before on Zoom, which was totally fine. It's like I knew how to use Zoom. But actually, because it records over the internet, like the quality is not as good. Whereas Riverside records it on like as a local file and then uploads it. So it's actually better quality. But I was just making sure my mic was on. It is. So anyway, I'm not sponsored by Riverside, but it's just really useful. So if you are podcasting or thinking about podcasting, I can highly recommend it. I'm just using the free version of it, and it seems to be good so far. Anyway, okay, so let's talk about the 3 steps to reducing overwhelm. Okay. So when you're like, again, remembering the key thing is the overwhelm is coming not from the number of things that you have to do or want to do. It's because your brain's thinking about all of them at once. Okay. So the key thing with overwhelm, if you take nothing else away, is to, instead of having your brain focus on all of the things at once, is to redirect your brain to focus on one thing at a time. Okay. When we can focus on a single thing at a time, it's so much easier to just be like, oh, okay, this is the thing I'm focused on, and not be thinking about everything else, okay? So just like that is the process that we're going through, is getting your brain thinking about all of the things to being like, okay, just one of the things at a time. So the first thing is, if you have lots of different things going on in your head, and you're like, oh, there's this, or there's this, or there's this, write them all out. Because when stuff is going round and round in your head, it feels heavier than it is. It feels like a bit more like, oh, than it actually is. And when you can get it out on paper, it's like, okay, these are all of the things, okay? Because like, if we don't write it down, our brain can go round in thought loops, because it's like, wait, don't forget this. Oh, wait, don't forget this. I actually did this as I was like trying to get off to sleep last night. Normally I'll have like a piece of paper, something by my bed, and write this down, or put it in my phone, and I didn't. And I noticed that I'd be drifting off to sleep and be like, oh, remember to get the thing out of the loft, or like whatever the thing was. And actually, if I'd written it down, it wouldn't have kept coming back, but it was almost like my brain's like, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. So not only do you have these things that you want to get done and your brain's thinking about all of them, if you don't have them written down somewhere, your brain's gonna be like, make sure you don't forget that, make sure you don't forget that. And it will just go round and round and round. And that can also add to the sensory input, which is like all the thoughts coming at you as well. And just like, blah. No wonder we shut down and we're just like, I can't do any of it. So the first thing is just like, get everything out of your head onto a piece of paper, okay? Have that list, take a deep breath, okay? Like, you have the list, it's there. This is everything. These are all of the things that you think you want to get done. Step number 2 is you ask this question. What is the most important thing? Or what is the next thing that I want to get done? Okay? So what is the most important thing or what is the next thing? And circle that or put like a little star or something beside it. Okay? So once you have that, not the next 3 things, not the next like 5 things, not putting them all in order, being like, okay, this one, then this one. And that's the key thing. Like when we're in overwhelm and it can be like, there's all these things. It's like, what is the next one? Like that, like just that process of being like one at a time is going to help it like just be so much easier for your brain to be like, okay, first of all, you're going to stop the thought loops because you know you've got it written down. And second of all, like when it's just one, it's like, oh, okay, I can totally do that. So when you have your one, the third step is go and do the one. Okay. And if you can, do it with no distractions. Put your phone away, put other stuff away. Just be like, okay, what is the next one? Once you have done it, rinse and repeat. So you have your list already, rinse and repeat steps 2 and 3. So it's like, then it's ask the question, okay, what is the next one? Or what is the next most important one? And then step 3, go and do that. And then back to step 2, what is the next most important one or the next one? Step number 3, go and do that. And just go through it in that order. And that is going to help you get out of overwhelm. And actually, you'll maybe notice that once the overwhelm's gone and that you're actually in it. Because what can happen is like when you're overwhelmed, you're not even starting it, you're in it and you're like, I don't know where to start. This will help you, like picking the one next to focus on, this will help you start, or this will help you like get into it. And then once you're in it, the overwhelm will be gone. You'll be like, ooh, this and this and this. And you'll be like on a roll and be like, push. But just anything to help you get started. And you can apply this to, it can be like around the time of like Christmas or like different things going on, but also your goals. If it's like, there's so many things to do for my goals, or there's so many things to do for this, or there's so much, get it all down. Pick the one that you're doing next, do that one. And the reason it works so well is like when you're picking one at a time, you're shifting the story that your brain is telling from there's too many things, there's so much, like thinking about all of the things, to being like, I'm going to focus on this one. And I don't know about you, but like when you're telling yourself, like, I'm going to focus on this one, or like, I know exactly what I'm doing, or I'm just going to do this one, or like, okay, I can do this one. I feel like calm, I feel focused, I feel really grounded. That is all we're doing. We're shifting the narrative that your brain's telling and shifting its focus from being like on all the things to like, okay, what is the next thing? Okay. And then the second part of all of this is if you have the sensory overwhelm, if it's almost like, for me, it's when it's like bright lights and noises. And it's almost, I'm like, just like, I feel like everything is can be coming at me. And again, this happens a bit more when I'm a bit tired. Some things that really help me with that are noise cancelling headphones. I just have like the Apple AirPods. Sometimes I don't even put music in, or I don't even listen to anything. I'll just like put them on noise cancelling. And suddenly it's almost like all the stuff around here goes. And I can just focus more on like, okay, what's in front of me, which is especially helpful. Even like I can sometimes get overwhelmed trying to clear up like the kitchen, stuff like that. Not only like doing stuff, but actually like the physical stuff when there's like different things and a bit of mess. I'm almost like, what do I do first? As soon as I put those on like noise cancelling, I'm like, oh, it's this. I'll go like unload the dishwasher. I'll go and do this thing. Or like I'll listen to rainforest sounds, but it's like noise cancelling, some kind of like background noise. I find that so helpful for actually just like focusing. Again, it's cutting the inputs. It's cutting the like thinking about everything to think about, okay, what is in front of me, or like, what is that one thing? So that can also help and work almost like in parallel with getting everything out of your head, picking one and focusing on that. Like this is an extra layer that's going to help you write that list, pick the one and actually do the one at a time and just reduce the overwhelm. The other piece, I actually wrote some things down. The other piece is like, sometimes I'll just close my eyes and just take some deep breaths. So this can happen even today. Like I'm recording this podcast and I've recorded another one that you will get next week for New Year's Eve. Well, ahead of New Year's Eve. And I've got like a light on here. I've got like 2 lights there. And there's lots of like, I don't know, like electronic equipment around, and sometimes it can feel, and like screens, and I can feel a little bit like bright lights. Sometimes like I will just, in between the podcasts, like close my eyes, take some deep breaths, and almost like shut out the light. Or again, sometimes if I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, again, another example, just because it's a recent one from like last night, is like cleaning up the kitchen. If I'm a bit tired or like feeling a bit overwhelmed with it all, I'll like dim the light. So I'll put it on like just the under countertop kind of light things, under cupboard lights. And that really helps just like reduce the input. So it's almost like my brain's not trying to process all of this different stuff. It's like, okay, what is the thing that I'm focusing on? What is the thing I'm doing next? So I find that really helpful. And then the other one is actually just going out into nature. So almost like getting out of like the house where there's different things everywhere. And I mean, we try and keep a minimalist house to have less inputs, to have less stuff to kind of sort. But like just getting out into nature, taking some deep breaths, going for a walk, just like stepping away. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, if I'm a bit like everything feels almost too much, is like taking myself outside and just doing some deep breaths and just like, or meditating as well. That can help if you like just need to stay where you are. But I find like getting outside, fresh air, ideally under some trees or like with physical, like actual nature, not just like grass, but like trees, and just like, and like listening to bird song and just being really present. That I find really helps with the overwhelm as well. And I think the key thing with all of it is just noticing your brain's story as well. Like if you are telling yourself, it's too much, I can't handle it. And just, what if that's not true? What if it's not too much? What if you can handle it because you're just going to do one thing at a time and you're going to just let everything else go? And it's like, even just thinking that, the list of things you write down, like, what if you could cross half of it off? Or like, what if you can just let some things go? And it's like, just being aware of the story, like that you are telling yourself of like, it's too much. I can't handle it. There's so much going on. And it's like, I'm only going to do one thing at a time. And it's like, again, shifting your brain back from the everything and just being so aware of like, of course I can handle this. Of course I'm going to do one thing at a time. I don't need to think about this yet. I'm just going to focus on that one thing at a time. If you can just retell that story that your brain is telling you, like that also helps as well. So just being aware of that narrative of like, what are, like when overwhelm comes up, like what is that story going through your brain? Is it there's too much? Is it I can't handle this? And there's another element to all of this, which is like sometimes it is too much. And if you are in that, first of all, it's maybe not so helpful being like, it's too much, but sometimes it can be like, okay, maybe it actually is. Not like gaslighting yourself, but just being like, what am I going to let go? And that can be a really helpful question, is like, what do I want to let go of? And I know I did this like kind of August time last year, August, September time, there was too much going on. There was like family health stuff, my health stuff, like some other health stuff going on. We were thinking about moving. There was just so many different things. And there was this program that I was planning to launch, and there was actually just too much. And it was almost like something has to go to be present and to process and to figure out all these other things, like things I hadn't chosen, like things that just happened, like life stuff that happened. And it was like, okay, something has to give and it's going to be this. And so I pushed back like when I was launching it. And so you can also be like that. Like if there is too much, what can you let go of? What can you say no to? How can you create some space and really give yourself like what it is you need to feel really present and to just enjoy, especially this time of year or anything, like not get in the overwhelmed spin and just be really present. So I hope that was helpful. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything on any of that, like please reach out. Or if there's anything else you want me to do on overwhelm, I know it comes up a lot in coaching sessions. I've got loads more things I can talk to you about that, but those are some things that are super helpful for me anyway and for my clients. So hopefully they're helpful for you too. And I hope you have an amazing Christmas when it comes, if you celebrate, an amazing holiday if you're off, or like break, or just whatever it is, wherever you are in the world. Just being present, taking some time for you. And I'm excited about, next week's one is all about like reflecting on 2024 and like rounding off the year. So you're going to want to check that one out as well. And I will, see you next week, but I've already recorded it. But I will say, I hope you have an amazing rest of the 2024, and I can't wait for 2025. And thanks for being on this journey with me. Okay. Mwah. Hey, thanks so much for listening. If this was helpful, please hit subscribe and leave a review. This helps get this work in the hands of more purposeful people. That is, more people creating bigger, scarier goals, and making an even bigger impact in the world. And if you want to take this work deeper and work with me directly, head to the show notes and I've got all of the information there. If you've got any questions or if there's anything you're like, ooh, I'd love you to talk about that on the pod, please just get in touch. I love hearing from you guys. And I'll see you next time in the Scary Goals Club.